Hello and welcome to the Institute's February Project Team webinar. I'm LaQuanda Walters-Cooper, Program Lead for the Institute's program.
And I'm Emily Brantley, Program Analyst for the Institute's program. Together, we represent a team of approximately 10 other program officers in the Division of Education programs.
Project team meetings are planned to align with associated tasks for designing and implementing your Institute's projects. During the October meeting, we focused on introductory NEH grant and project management and the multiple components of promoting your Institute's social media, website design, and participant applications. This webinar, a recording of slides presented at the February 4th live meeting, will focus on participant selection, notification and acceptance, preparing for participants, and planning for end-of-project reporting. If you have specific programmatic questions or concerns, we encourage you to schedule some time with your program officer to talk things through one-on-one.
Over the next few months, we've got 3 important dates for you to remember. First up is the deadline for folks applying to your program, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time on Wednesday, March 5th. A month later, on Wednesday, April 2nd, you'll notify all applicants of your decisions, and then any accepted applicants will have the next 2 weeks until Wednesday, April 16th to accept or decline your offer. All of these dates and deadlines are set by NEH for all landmarks and all institutes running in 2025 to keep things simple and consistent for applicants. Once the 11:59 p.m. Pacific deadline on March 5th has passed, you'll have a month to conduct your selection process, from your initial application intake and organization to convening and orienting your participant selection committee, on to finalizing your selection process and review criteria, and ultimately making your decisions. You should document your process and decision-making so you can easily refer back to your notes when you begin working on your final performance report. Once participant applications have closed, the work of the selection committee begins. The NEH's participant eligibility criteria language is the foundation for determining who is eligible to attend your program. As a reminder, you can find that language in the Notice of Funding from when you originally applied to run your institute, in your awards terms and conditions, in the October meetings packet mailed this fall, and on the NEH website listing all programs running this summer. That said, the NEH does not select participants for your institutes. This is the job of your selection committee. Project teams have some autonomy in determining how you will select participants and fine-tuning any project-specific review criteria. Because many potential applicants apply to both institutes and landmarks programs, we encourage all teams to use the same language. The 2 primary options are accepting an applicant or waitlisting an applicant. However, teams can reject an applicant under the following circumstances: if the participant application is incomplete, if the participant application does not illustrate any substantive alignment with the goals of your institute, or if they are ineligible to participate in an NEH-funded program. Rejections are appropriate for applicants who you do not intend to move off of a waitlist even if a spot did open up. By rejecting applicants who are not a good fit for your program, it allows them to focus on other professional development opportunities.
A few reminders regarding NEH requirements for the participant selection process. To clarify, these are requirements and not recommendations. First, all institutes projects must give preference to participants new to NEH-funded professional development programs. While we know there is a strong and well-qualified contingent of previous seminar, institute, and landmarks participants, it is important to make this opportunity available to a wider audience of educators. All higher education projects must reserve 20% of available participant spaces for non-tenured track faculty and reserve 10% of available participant spaces for advanced graduate students, defined as those who have reached candidacy in a doctoral program or are in their final year of a terminal degree program. All K-12 projects must reserve 20% of available participant spaces for early career educators, those who have been in the classroom for 5 years or less, and include at least one classroom teacher on the selection committee. In general, your participant group should reflect a range of geographies, institution types, and career stages. Participant notification must take place on April 2nd, 2025. Notification may begin as early as 8 a.m. in your time zone. In the interest of fairness, all projects must adhere to this notification date. It is a matter of respecting both the national applicant pool and your fellow project directors. There is a short interval between notification and acceptance, and everyone must be given equal access for the best possible results. All notifications must be sent via email on this date, not before and not after. Project teams may call applicants in addition to sending an email, but not instead of sending an email. Your project team might already have a draft of the offer email, but we'd like to review the components of that communication with the applicants you've accepted to your program. First, program information: title, locations, meeting dates, modes of delivery and attendance, the stipend amount, and housing and travel information if applicable. For the acceptance documents for participants, you should develop documents in a format that can be signed and returned to you. Should also include reminders for applicants. They must accept or reject the offer by April 16, 2025. They can only accept one program offer, and acceptance decisions are final. Once a participant accepts your offer, the decision is final, which means they may not accept another, even if they hear later from a first choice project in which they were initially listed as an alternate. Before we move on to the next section of our webinar, we want to acknowledge that project teams might be feeling anxious about the number of applications they have currently received and how many they will receive at the application deadline. First, do not panic. Participants will submit applications to your institute up until the very last minute. Many projects report a barrage of last-minute applicant questions and submissions close to the deadline. Second, and related to the first point, project teams are not in trouble if their programs run at less than capacity. We encourage all projects to run with the participant cohort they feel comfortable with. Please do not feel you must select random participants that might not be the best fit simply to fill seats. Third, project teams are not allowed to extend the application deadline. The deadlines are set to be consistent and equitable across the Institutes and Landmarks programs.
Once you have a participant group, your focus can shift to preparing for the beginning of your institute. At this stage, it's helpful to think like a participant by putting yourself in their shoes. They'll want to know things like, what should I read to prepare? How will I get there and where will I stay? Who will be my colleagues? And what will I need when the institute begins? We encourage you to send detailed program information to your cohort of participants by May 1st, 2025. Plan to share information about what they should read to prepare for your institute. Include a syllabus indicating what will be required versus what is simply recommended or extra reference reading to allow participants to effectively plan their preparation time out in advance. If you're providing reading materials to your participants, share instructions on how to access advanced readings or materials such as bound texts, links, PDFs, etc. If participants are responsible for purchasing or accessing their own materials individually, provide clear instructions for that as well. By May 1st, you'll also want to provide your participants with logistical information about transportation and arrival, housing, and stipends. Consider community building activities prior to the start of your program, regardless of whether your program is taking place residentially, virtually, or in a combined format. You may want to hold a group video call for introductions and discussion of group norms and expectations before the program begins, or create a private group on a social media platform or a learning management system where introductions, materials, and expectations will be posted. We encourage you to allow participants to provide the information they wish to share and be mindful of privacy concerns. We also encourage you to privately and/or anonymously gather information from participants about their programmatic access needs.
Residential and combined project teams should communicate to participants whether they'll need to bring their own laptops or if technology will be available for loan on site. Virtual and combined project teams should communicate the specific hardware and software requirements for full participation in learning activities, whether they are synchronous or asynchronous. Project teams should list items and strategies participants might need for the day-to-day conditions of the Institute site. Here, we're thinking about comfortable walking shoes, personal water bottles, dressing in layers to account for changing temperatures, etc. Institute programs can be intense and can feel overscheduled. Project teams should consider including some unscheduled time for unwinding, independent reading, or local exploration. In this final portion of the webinar, Project Reporting and Reflecting, we will briefly review the Participant Selection Report, Project Reflection, Participant Follow-up Activities, and Final Reporting Requirements.
Formative evaluation refers to participant feedback during the course of your institute. We encourage project teams to consider formal and informal ways to collect feedback throughout your institute and to act promptly on that feedback where it is feasible. Summative evaluation refers to the formal project evaluations participants complete. These evaluations should be anonymous. There are some questions for which the NEH will require responses. Those questions can be found in the Terms and Conditions for Professional Development Programs on the NEH website. Project teams are free to add additional questions specific to their institute. Completed participant evaluations should be submitted as part of the end of project reporting, and should the project team decide to reapply, completed project evaluations are a required component of your future application. Once your institute begins, program officers remain available for consultation and support. During and after the institute, this support can take on a variety of forms according to the needs and design of your institute. Support from your program officer could look like formal and informal project team check-ins, site visits, and end of year or end of program debrief meetings with project teams and participants. Speak with your program officer to determine what works best for everyone. For example, last summer, I visited a residential project, observing scheduled sessions and meeting with participants and the project team.
I visited one project virtually and 2 projects in person in summer 2024, held a debrief session with all project teams in the late summer and early fall of 2024. The participant selection report will be submitted via an online form and will only require general, numeric, and comprehensive narrative responses to questions regarding the participant selection process. For returning projects, please note that we will not be collecting individual participant data fields this year. The final performance report is a fillable web form available in eGMS. A preview list of questions you'll find on the form are included in the resource packet. The participant evaluations will be submitted as an attachment in eGMS. Regarding the final financial report, only your institutional grant administrator can submit this report in eGMS. We hope this webinar is a helpful resource for project teams. Take care, and we wish you the best as you implement your institute's projects.